Hello, everyone. Mackie here. We are 12 days out from the 2026 Midseason Invitational that's taking place in Daejeon, South Korea. And while this is a major event for League of Legends and for me and all the other content creators for the League of Legends space, this is also the time to get your narratives, your previews, and all the statistical gist about each and every other team for the MSI tournament that is going to be taking place. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where the wheel comes in. In case maybe people do not know what the wheel is, it is pretty much simple. I will spin the wheel, and whatever team lands, it's a team I will preview. Now, normally I will have to do like a team preview and all this kind of stuff, but because of the busyness of the entire nature with World Cups and all that kind of stuff, I'm implied to do this one per day. And if I were to do all my cards right, I'm able to preview all the teams before the tournament even began. It's a little bit of a tough sale, but I believe I can do a better job. So as you can see, we have the 11 teams on a wheel. You got Hana Life, Lion, Deep Cross, Carmine Corp, BLG, all this kind of stuff. And a little bit of advice. Please like and subscribe to this channel for more League of Legends content. It will be grateful so we can get 100 subscribers by the end of this tournament. It'll be incredible, and you'll help me and this channel grow even more to be recognizable to all the masses. And yeah, so I know. We wanted to get. I know I want to get to the wheel first, but before we get to the wheel first, here's how the wheel works. The wheel will spin and then it will pick a team. And then I will preview that team. I will talk about the players. We'll talk about how they got there, their experience, their whole thing. That is that. Champion pool and all kinds of stuff. I'm sorry that I cannot do that. That's gonna be for the analysis and all kinds of stuff. Maybe if I can have time to do it, I will do it, but that's gonna be a tight window to do. And then, of course, once we get to the players and the teams, I will rank them on my MSI 2026 board. So if I were to pick a team, and then, of course, I will be talking about the player, I will also be ranking the player at that time. And after all of that, I will also rank the team. Where do I see this team in the MSI hierarchy? Not in a tier or anything, but 1 to 11, where would this team fit? So if I were to hypothetically say T1, maybe T1 might be a top 3 team or a top 4 team. That depends on how they play and how they preview. So with that being said, it is enough talk, and it is time for me to spin the damn wheel. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going to kick off the MSI preview with our friends from the LCP of Team Secret Wales. Now, I know LCP is not my forte, to be honest, but I know this team. I know how good they are, especially at first stand. Okay, the first stand performances has not been great, but they have been a dominant force in the LCP this year. And it's showcased in their run towards the tournament. Now, it is time for us to meet the players of that Team Secret Wales. And by the way, here are the lineups. Pun, Hitso, Dyer, Eddie, and Bai are the players that are represented for the Team Secret Wales, who are making their second straight international appearance since their first stand tournament last March. And of course, I will be ranking the players as of now. So let's just talk with the top laner Pun. He is an interesting case. He's got a 3.1 KDA. And by the way, all these stats are based on the playoff stats, exception to the LCK, which I do the regular season stats, compared to the Road to MSI tournament that I did. Because I think Road to MSI is kind of like a little bit of a sample size, of course, compared to the larger comparatively of the regular season. So it is a little bit apples to oranges on that one, but the stats remain the same. And also, I factor playoff stats more regularly than regular season stats, which adds a little bit of weight and importance to all of this because, of course, it will lead you to qualification for MSI and to win a championship, which is hugely important, eh, with the exception of LCK, of course. So make that what you will. Pun, by the way, he's a 3.1 KDA with a 57.7 kill participation, a 17.5% kill share, and a 27.4% death percentage. Yes, I have the key Akeem. In case many people don't know, yes, this is the average share of the team's death. And then he got a goal difference of minus 278 at 10 minutes with an experience of minus 245. So that means he is not an aggressive top laner early, like some of our top laners, of course. That being said, he's a 7.8 CS per minute with a 708 damage per minute, at 26% damage percentage. He is in the higher, he's the top damage dealer among all top laners in the MSI. 19% of the gold being distributed, of course, 0.47 wards per minute, and 0.15 wards cleared per minute. And these stats are based on Oracle Elixir stats. So I want to thank the people of Oracle Elixir stats for providing the stats that is given to me for this MSI tournament. And of course, Pawn has been absolutely brilliant, of course, in this season. He has been a decent player. Um, where do I rank him, by the way? It says I don't watch like a lot of LCP. Where do I rank him? I believe he's a decent top laner. Now, compared to the rest of the top laners we've seen the list of your Broken Blade and your Flare and your Gugan. And by the way, since T Secret Wells are in the bracket stage, I could just compare them to the other bracket stage participants. Ben and Broken Blade. I could say that you could say that I don't think they're better than Ben, Broken Blade. I don't think they're better than like the top four bust regional teams. Even Dokula, I can say, is better than Pun. So I could say that he is a bit of a C tier for me. I mean, not as good enough to win, but I think he's like decent enough to feel like he can challenge them. He can really challenge them. So where do I put him in my paint? Where is it? Okay, there you go. He's a C tier for me. I think he'll be fine. And where do I put him as my top laners for this tournament? I think he's gonna be ranked my eighth best top laner for the team. There you go. I can make some changes into the lineup if I have the time. But for now, we're gonna be sticking with this all nonchalantly. Next up is Hitso in the jungle. In the jungle, the mighty Hitso sleeps tonight at a 5.1 KDA with a 67.1% kill participation and a 25.2 kill share percentage. 19.7 deaths percentage at a minus 102 goal difference and a 70 XPD at 10 minutes. 7.4 CS per minute, which is around like the almost the highest, the second highest. Also inspired is the top dog, which is not surprising. 517 damage per minute with a 17.4 damage percentage, 21.2 gold percentage, or by the way, the key gold share. Yeah, gold share. There you go. And he has a 0.43 wards per minute and a 0.23 wards clear per minute. And I think Hitso with the KDA is not as high as the other top four mid laners as per top junglers, of course, as per usual. Maybe not as strong as like maybe not as strong as Kanavi or Tian in any cases, of course. Jose Odo, I think that's a bit of an argument. Remember, we're talking about bracket stage, not the play-ins. So where do I put Hitso in this? I think Hitso is a decent, fine player. I think he's also going to be a C rank for me. I think he's going to be, just fine in many cases. Yes, I got to move the camera just a little bit, of course, to just put the colors in there, just to show. And I think Hitso is going to be a fine player, of course. I think Hitso is going to be fine. I think he'd be a C rank. Also, where do I put him in the jungle ranking? I will have to put him Basically, another 8 as well. Yes, there are going to be some exceptions to the rule, but I think 8th place is fine for Hitso in this case. Now, next up is Dyer from the mid lane. And I think I heard a lot of praises about Dyer being good. 4.8 KDA, which is among the top 10 around dominant mid laners in KDA. 65.4%, which is not bad, but not great either. I think it's the second lowest, I think third lowest among mid laners based on the regions beside Hongsu and Faker. Yes, I know he's a top above Faker, but don't let the numbers destroy you to the fact that he's still the GOAT and he's still capable of beating everybody. Just saying. 19.2 kill shares, 20.4 of the team's death percentage, 8 goal difference at 10 minutes, and 95 XPD at 10 minutes, 8.6 CS per minute at 615 damage, 21.8 damage per 28.1 damage percentage with a 19.8 goal share at 0.41 wards per minute and 0.25 wards clear per minute. Dyer's a decent guy. He's a really incredible dude. Now, I think compared with the mid laners, I can say that not good enough to beat Caps. KU can still beat them. Toots can still beat them. Faker, by the way, even in a downgrade, is still a beatable guy. And Knight is good. Zeka is good. Maybe Saint, if he improves, is good. By the way, Saint is like the second highest person among them. I'll preview Lion in the next day, of course, if they get picked. But for now, I can say with all certainty, I think, Dyer is a decent player on Amon. So I think for now, he is going in as another C tier. I think you can say that all the Team Secret Wells are C tier until proven otherwise. Now, I haven't watched Psychopathic Poro's video about Team Secret Wells, but maybe that might change, of course, a little bit with his saying about that team. But his opinion about the region is different from my opinion about the region. So for now, I feel like this Team Secret Wells organization is pretty much in the decent, but not as good enough to topple the team's tier. I mean, what they done in first stand is something incredible, of course, and admired, but maybe I feel like with this bigger tournament and this bigger, higher stakes, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different. Where do I put Dyer in my middle lane category? I think I said a 7th place will be good. I think 7th place will be good for him, of course. And now to the ADC, of course, with Eddie. Freddy Eddie on the ADC. And based on the rankings I did, he's a 7.5 KDA, which is third among all active MSI players who play ADC, beside RU and Berserker. And by the way, these are playoff stats, with the exception of the LCK. 70.1 kill participation with 25.6 kill share percentage, 14 death percentage, of course, 344 goal difference at 10%. And by the way, we don't even have the LPL stats again. But if you do, he is the highest goal difference per 10 minutes. And also the highest XPD at 10 minutes. So that guy is going to be farming a lot in this game. And he's going to be the main carry of this game, as per usual of the stats. 10.1 CS per minute, which is easily the tied second with Gumiyushi and second behind Kalist for CS per minute. 720 damage per minute, which is not as high as many of the mid lane, the ADCs, but pretty in a decent ballpark of, like, you could say 7th, of course, in the damage per minute category. 24.7% damage percentage, of course. 28.2 goal share, 0.52 wards per minute, and 0.29 wards clear. This guy is going to be an absolute beast throughout this tournament, of course, with the KDA that he have, with the confidence and the fact that he's probably the main carry based on all the metrics, of course. I think this is Eddie's time to shine. I think Eddie will shine. I think I will give him the honest tier of a B tier. I think he's a B tier AAV carry going into this. I think he has enough firepower to feel like he could just topple some of the best teams in the world right now. Given the right conditions and given the right draft, I think he will shine, of course. As I said before, I don't have much information about his champion pool and how he plays and all that stuff. That will be a completely waste of time for me and for you guys. But I think based on the numbers, he has done well. Yes, Akeem, my numbers. I mean, we've all done the numbers, of course. It's a numbers world we are living right now. And finally, to buy on the support. Oh, by the way, I have to rank, Eddie on the ADC list. Let's just give him a seventh place. Let's give him seventh. Maybe it might be lower if we get to all of this. I'll give him seventh place for now. And finally, to buy in the support role, 5.8 KDA, which is kind of like in the ballpark of the mid tier, of course. In the KDA partners, 32.2% kill participation, 12.4 kill shares. Yes, 12.4 kill shares. Easily dwarf so many of the supports going into this tournament. 18.5 deaths, 331 goal difference at 10 minutes, and minus 35 XPD 10 minutes, which is pretty much normal for supports, of course. 1.2 CS per minute, 298 damage per minute. That's probably like I think that's the highest of any support. Almost 300 damage per minute. That's highest among supports, which is amazing. He's also the highest among damage percentage at 10.1, 11.9 goal share, 2.21 wards per minute, and point 0.6 wards cleared, which is the highest among supports. This is a really highly touted support. I mean, he and Eddie are going to be the dynamic 1-2 punch that's going to make this Team Secret Wells all the more exciting to watch throughout this entire tournament. I think he and Eddie is going to be in the same boat as compared to tiers, and I think I'll give him the B tier for him. Yeah, I think B tier for Eddie, of course. There you go. And where do I put Eddie as among the supports? I will give him like the eighth best support by on the among the teams that are qualifying for MSI. I think he and Eddie are going to be the dynamic ADCs, are going to make it work. While the other guys, the solo laners, the Dire and Pun is going to be decent, and Hitzel will be decent, of course. I think Team Secret Wells will be doing better than what happened at first stand. I think you can say that the ghost of CFO, the fact that CFO just dwarfs everything from what happened last year, is still in the minds of so many LCP fans. And this Team Secret Wells will be decent enough in first stand, but not good enough. They got to do a better show than MSI. They got to show up and beat an Eastern team. Like, I'm not saying win against an Eastern team, but at least show up and do well against an Eastern team. And maybe beat a Western team. Maybe beat a Team Liquid or a Lion game. And of course, if the right atmosphere is being toxic around Lion, of course, and Inspired, I think they might do something. I think they might do something in this tournament. They're not going to be like a 2 losses and you're out kind of performance. I think they'll do better at MSI. And now, Akeem, it is time for the team stats. It's time for the team portion about it. We already done the players. Now it's time for the team portion about it. So the team portion of our teams that do well is we got a 1.49 KDA, which is among the mid tier about the KDA. We got a 0.04 CKPM, which is a average combined kills per minute, which is a team and opponent's kills, which means they are a decent bloody team in most cases. I think this is the highest beside Honda Life Esports in terms of kills. So that means they are a bloody, aggressive team, of course, which is going to be muddying up some of the competitors, which, by the way, show up in first stand, of course. Like the same thing with G2 in the early edition of the first stand. They like to muddy up, they like to be aggressive, and they like to get you in your face, which is going to be a blessing and a curse for this entire team. 0.68 goal per minute. No, actually, goal rating percentage. Yes, I kind of look at the keys, of course, because my knowledge is not great. 5.20 goal share per D, which is average goal spent percentage of the difference. 5.2, which is the highest among, well, not the highest, but kind of like in the mid tier, of course. The EGR and the MLR. The EGR is pretty much simple. This is the early game rating and the mid-late rating, of course. It's how these teams do well in the early game and then in the mid to late game. And I can say with certainty that teams that do well with a 53.5% without the LPL stats are among the mid-tier, of course, in terms of highest. By the way, G2 are just dwarfs everybody in the early game, which is expected, of course, because of G2. Their mid lane R is pretty much like in the higher tier, of course. It's kind of like mid, of course. So that means they are a decent early game team with all the aggression, but not a decent, good mid-late round game, of course. 30% on the first blood, 50% on the first tower, 58% on the first three tower percentage, Herald on 73 percentage, and the first Drake on 42%. And by the way, I skipped over the Elder because Elder is kind of like you either get Elder or you don't get Elder. It's pretty much late game insurance, of course. 51% on the Dragon percentage, 76% on the Baron percentage, 51.1 on the Lane percentage, which is kind of like decent, of course. It's par for the course. 52.7% with the Jungle, of course, which is around the mid time. And that is pretty much like how, and let me just look at the key again, the jungle control. How well is your jungler in this specific game? Of course, the laning is gonna be a little bit different than the jungling. Is how incredible, let's say, hit zone. What I mean, the percentage is how thoroughly controlled, the cams and the farming and all kind of stuff. What Hitzel is doing, and that is pretty much all those stats. And listen, I don't know much about these stats. Remember, these are from Oracle Elixir. They know better than me, so I'm just gonna talk stats and shut my mouth. Wars per minute at 4.03 and CWPM at 1.22, which, by the way, is control wards purchase per minute, which is very, very important when it comes to like scouting and clear jungles and all kind of stuff. So these are very, very important stats. The 4.3 wards per minute is the highest among all the teams, which pretty much coincides with the 52.7% on the jungle, which means they are an aggressive team looking for objectives, picking fights, and all kind of stuff. This is incredible. You already know these stats, of course. I done these stats from the first stand. But there is a couple more that I wanted to do, and which is something that is foreign from the first stand that I did, which is the most important part of these first stands, which is the age and the international. So for Team Secret Wells, we got an average age of 21.6, with Hitso being the youngest at just 18 years old. And he's got 12 international games under his belt, which, by the way, I put in Worlds and MSI and First Stand combined. The Midseason Cup, by the way, does not even count. To be honest, it's a bygone tournament, of course, and that means they have played only 70 games. 70 games, which, by the way, I think it ranks second lowest. Second lowest among teams that are participating in MSI. And yeah, you know that this, by the way, it's the least, which is obvious, by the way. So I think they're coming in with a little bit of experience, of course. Already played First Stand. Of course, Bayard's already played like Worlds and international events. So I think based on that little bit of experience, I think they are going to be good enough to try to compete against some of the experienced teams. For the MSI and the best results, Team Secret Wells is their first MSI appearance, which means, of course, they haven't even played any games. This is their first MSI appearance overall, by the way. And to the Road to Daejeon, they don't even have to do much in the Road to Daejeon. They 7-0 in the regular season, 14-3 amongst game scores. They 3-0 MVK, 3-2 Deep Cross Gaming, and then 3-1 Deep Cross Gaming again to win the whole tournament. And by the way, they were locked in MSI before all of this happened because of their dominance in the first split and, of course, their brilliance in the second split regular season, and because of the championship points, they were locked in no matter what. And they were, by the way, the first team to qualify for MSI worldwide without even playing a game in the playoffs. That's wild. Absolute wild. And now it is time for me to do something egregious that I sadly have no choice but to do, but it is what it is. We're going prediction markets. Yeah, I have, based on Kelsey's prediction markets, I have Team Secret Wells at 1%. They have Team Secret Wells at pretty much 1% to win MSI, which means they have a lesser chance of winning. But like Cape Verde did yesterday against Spain, anything is possible. Anything is possible right now. So, where do I put Team Secret Wells in terms of the teams? I think these Team Secret Wells, with the players that they have, are good enough to compete against some of the lesser Eastern teams and more good enough to like muddy the waters and compete well against the Western teams. I think, based on my knowledge of the LCP, which is 0, by the way, I think they're good enough to like compete and probably win. Now, are they good enough to take down the top 3 teams and the top 5? No, not so much. But I could say with certainty they're like the 8th best team in this tournament. So I have Team Secret Wells as my top 8 team. And with that, that concludes the very first team preview of the tournament. And with that, unfortunately, Team Secret Wells, you have to go. Goodbye. See you later. And now we have 10 teams left to preview for the next 10 days. See how this works, Hakeem? I preview the team, I talk about it, statistically talk about them, rank them, and then that's it. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for more League of Legends stuff for this video. And tomorrow we'll be previewing another team going on the road to MSI to trying to call their shot and win it all. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy the rest of the day. Peace.